We've got our last speaker, who's Tom, who's the growth team lead at Gronade, and his talk will be titled "The Last Marketing Stack Talk You'll Ever Need." So here you go. Welcome him.
Hello. So, firstly, I had an introduction. I'm going to go with a slightly different introduction. Who here feels that they are 100% confident about everything that they just heard in the last hour or so? 100% got all of it. Absolutely cool. Yes, I'm going to implement this in my startup tomorrow. Hands up, hands up. Cool. Yeah, totally. Yes. It's your job. You better be able to implement it tomorrow. My name's Tom. I'm the growth lead or one of the growth leads at Gronade. And it's my job to translate a lot of these technologies into the sort of actionable marketing problems that we deal with every day. What I'm going to walk you through is the last marketing stack you'll ever need. And this is actually a deception from the get-go, because a lot of what I'm going to talk to you about actually does not involve what you would traditionally consider a marketing stack. There is no one tool which is going to solve everything for you. There is not even, in fact, a number of half a dozen tools that will solve everything for you. But at every stage in the marketing funnel, every stage of the business that you're at, you're going to face unique challenges. And something that we do every day is work out interesting solutions to those challenges. And if you work in marketing, you'll understand that interesting solutions often work well simply by their novelty, but often work well because they actually do better than what has been going on before. So before I start, who here actually works in marketing? Hands up. Yeah? Who here would say they work in growth hacking, on the other hand? Yeah, a couple of people? All right. So do the rest of you just work in Albert, I see you almost half put your hand up. The rest of you then just work in companies that rely on marketing to survive, right? Like you would be out in the street without marketing or growth hacking. Is that correct? Yeah? Hands up. You rely on your marketing department? Hey, there we go. The rest of you. Okay. Obviously, marketing is important. Obviously, growth hacking is important. Next. There we go. But the number one thing that drives marketing is the technology that these marketers or growth hackers choose to use, right? The tools which allow people to make data-based decisions on what campaigns to pursue or what things to do next with the limited time and budget that we all have. This is especially important for small stage startups, and in a way even more important for established companies or later stage startups. So what goes into your marketing stack? The series of tools that you use to measure your marketing and to know what's working and to make decisions about what's going next. Is anybody here brave enough to say what tools they currently use for their analytics and marketing stack? Anybody?
Google Analytics.
Google Analytics, thank you, Tia. Anybody else?
Hotjar.
Also good. Anybody who's not Kia? Love you, Kia. Love you, Kia. But anybody else? Kissmetrics, good one. Good one. Very expensive, but good one. Optimizely. Segment's great. Segment holds a bunch of things together. Sorry, what was that?
I was going to say VWO, Target.
Love VWO. Okay. There is also, let's say, HubSpot. There is also, let's say, Intercom. There is also, let's say, MailChimp. There's also, let's say, Autopilot. In fact, this, in 2012, was a diagram of the marketing tools that exist in the world. There's far too many. And half of them are awful, and the other half of them do pretty much what all the others do. So, fundamentally, what's the best one? What are we going to use to make our marketing go well and make lots of money and actually succeed as a startup? What's the holy grail of marketing tools? What's the best marketing stack? Unfortunately, I'm not going to tell you that today. I'm just going to be a grumpy man sort of pontificating at you about how you should approach your marketing stack instead, and how some of the slightly terrifying stuff that you just heard can actually help you get that edge on everyone else who is trying to pursue, Marketo, HubSpot, Optimizely, the tools that do everything in one. The way we're going to talk about this is pirate metrics. Who knows what pirate metrics is? I want Oh, I want everyone in the room to put their hands up. That's unfortunate. Okay, we will go through it step by step. The freelancer guys do, that's good. Pirate metrics. R. A-A-R-R-R. So acquisition, activation, retention, revenue, referral. This is a concept that's actually as old as time. In my marketing degree many years ago, we learned about something that was essentially the pirate metrics, right? You need to get somebody to understand that you exist. Then you need to get somebody to understand that they want to use you and actually make the decision to use you. Then you want somebody to actually use you. Then you want to manage the post-purchase process. Acquisition, activation, retention, revenue, referral. Pretty simple. We want people to actually engage with us. The problem is, at every stage of this process, which every business goes through, you're going to suffer different challenges, and depending on where you're at in your startup journey, you're going to suffer different particular types of obstacles, which can be solved using different tools. So what I'm going to do is go through and talk about 3 things for every stage of the pirate metrics. 1, what you should do if you're an early stage startup. Who here is early stage, really bootstrapping it, lean, love it, love you guys. Okay, talk to me after, I give you as many free tips as you want. 2, who's like crushing it, who's already doing really well as a startup or as an enterprise, even? Come on guys, there has to be at least one of you here. James. Fantastic, okay. And 3, freelancer. And 3, I'm going to talk to you about what you can do with the really new technologies that we've been talking about, which will improve your chances and improve your actual optimization at each step. So, everyone ready? We're going to do this quickly and then have a lot of times for questions, because there will be questions. Number 1, acquisition. Acquisition, the concept of getting people to come to you and to actually know who you are, click on your link, see your website, engage with you, hits on your page. This is acquisition. What do you do if you're really, really early stage in terms of acquisition? Basically, you're not going to have very much traffic, right? You're not going to have very many people coming to you. You're not going to have an awful lot of eyeballs on your website. The things that you need to understand at this level if you're an early stage startup is purely where are these people coming from and how well are the messaging that I'm pushing out into the world working. There are 2 simple ways to address this. The first one is to run PPC ads. I know you're bootstrapping, you don't have budget for a PPC marketing campaign, but it really is the best way to test if the messaging that you think is going to resonate in the community is actually going to resonate in the community or not, right? You put up a bunch of different particular cells, you put $5 on an ad, and you will be able to see immediately what the relative click-through rates of those ads were. Thousands of people will see your ad, and only a small number will click through for $5. But that means you'll be able to know statistically significantly, with academic rigor, which of those particular cells or particular value propositions is working best. Number 1 thing you can do if you're an early stage startup is put just a little bit of money on your AdWords or your Facebook advertising and try to understand what value propositions are actually resonating with the market. The number 2 thing that you need to do at the early stage acquisition level, if you're an early stage startup, is measure everything. You need to be putting UTM links on everything. Who uses UTM links? All right, most of you, but not all of you. All right, you should all be using UTM links for every single channel, for every single campaign you put out. You want to understand what medium this came through, what creative you used to push that medium, where you posted it. As fine-grained as possible, you want to understand what these are so that you can then go to your Google Analytics and say, wow, this campaign worked really well. This campaign was a complete waste of our time. Let's not do that campaign anymore. It's the number 1 thing you can do as an early stage startup, because you will be trying everything, and you should be trying everything. You should be posting on forums, you should be sending out emails, you should be putting up ads, you should be doing everything you can, and UTM links are the number 1 industry standard way of you measuring that. So that's the basic way to do it. What do you do if you're an established startup, if you have, or an enterprise? You have lots of traffic. You have lots and lots and lots of people coming through to your sites. At this point, what you need is well-defined funnels. The number 1 thing that we can give you at this point is a really solid understanding of, you have all these things going on. You probably have ads and organic traffic and affiliate marketing and bought programmatic traffic, and you have your ads, you have your emails rather, and all of these different sources of traffic. You need to understand which ones are actually working for you. which means you need to be tagging these channels in and then measuring through what those relative conversions are, what those relative values are. The number one thing you can do as a big startup or as an enterprise is just an audit of all of the marketing you're currently doing. Where are the best people coming from? How much are they spending? You can also do this on Google Analytics. So far, we haven't told you anything crazy or out of the blue. Being thorough is the number one thing you can do for acquisition, because you should be using bullseye methodology where you try 8 or 9 different things. Most of them won't work. Most of them won't move the needle for you. Two of them will. 2 of them will change the game, and that's what you double down on. The other thing that you need to do as acquisition is look at what other people are doing. Look at the topics that currently exist in your actual ecosystem. Look at the traffic sources that your competitors are using with a tool like SimilarWeb, and understand where other people are actually getting their traffic from. Try and copy them. Use that to prioritize what you're going to be doing. You either do not have enough information on what your channels are that are working as an early stage startup. You need to get as much as possible by using UTM links, or you have too much, which means you need to be very, very thorough about auditing your channels in something like Google Analytics. Let's talk about activation. Now, activation is probably the most common problem that people have, and activation is where we're first going to start talking about interesting machine learning and data science techniques that can help you. Who here wishes more people bought from their website or clicked on their button? I see it. Yeah, a couple of hands up the back. Don't be shy. Yes. All right. About half the room. The rest of you apparently are running charities. That's cool. I can respect that. For activation, what you want to do is convince somebody to click a button, pay you somehow, or give you an email address, or in some way take an action that you need them to take. This is, misleadingly simple. If you are at an early stage startup, you're not going to be able to do what all the blogs tell you to do. You're not going to be able to do your A/B testing. You're not going to be able to statistically examine the difference between a red button and a green button. It will take you 6 months. I say this from experience. As an early stage startup, it will take you 6 months to determine the difference between a red button and a green button on your conversion rates. What you need to do as an early stage startup is forego any hope of being able to be statistically valid in the decisions you're making about what is working, what is not working on page, and just install something called Hotjar. Who here uses Hotjar, real quick? All right, cool, at 2:30, that's really cool. For those who don't, you get to look over the person's shoulder as they use your website and see where they scroll, where they stop, where they hesitate, where they go back and read something again, and where they then scroll down and actually click on the button you want. It's the number one tool which allows you to get qualitative information, intuitive information about how somebody is actually interacting with your website. And that's what you need, because you're only going to have maybe 100 people access a given landing page for a given campaign, or maybe 200 people. You can look at the session of every single one of those people and say, hey, it turns out people were really confused by this block of copy. Let's not do that anymore. That's the number one insight you can get as an early stage startup. The second thing, I don't know if it's a little bit blurry there, but it says revolutionary new technology, talking to humans. Okay, talking to humans, it's the great new thing. For activation, sit your target market down in front of your website and say, what do you see? What is this site about? What do you need to do at this point? And what are your thoughts immediately upon seeing this site there? I just gave you half of the user experience, human-computer interaction degree. What do you need to do here? What is this site about? What are your thoughts? Put somebody from your target audience in front of your landing page or in front of your particular UI and just ask them those questions. Give up all hope, ye who enter here, of doing A/B testing at an early stage. You can't do it, right? Enterprise or large-scale startup. If you're not doing A/B testing, you are bad and wrong and should be doing A/B testing. Oh my God. So, how do you do A/B testing, right? A/B testing, the process of putting 2 versions of a page side by side and understanding which one of them actually leads to the conversion that you need to get better. Optimizely or VWO are the tools to do this. It allows you to get a page, to create 2 versions of that page with a slight difference between them, and then just measure which one works better. This is the number one way to increase your conversions. If you don't know about it, I can talk to you about it later. But the other thing that Optimizely allows you to do at an enterprise level is customize the actual user experience that somebody has on your page, whether that be the information that they see or the layout that they get, based upon information that you have about them, which is, where they came from, what channel they came through, what time of day it is, what search keyword they used. You have the ability, through a tool like Optimizely, to actually have mass customization of your pages. And if you have enough people, and if you have segmented your channels well enough, you should understand that people who come to us from our affiliate marketing link are people of a particular type who want a particular sort of messaging. People who come to us from our Facebook ads are of a particular type and want a particular messaging. They should be seeing individual experiences for all of them. You can do this with something like Optimizely. Secondarily, autopilot or any marketing automation is a great way to increase your activation at an enterprise level. If you have a lot of people, you should be hitting them up in an automated fashion with emails, with alerts, with anything, with SMSs, with anything that allows you to keep getting in their face at a grand scale. You don't actually have to have somebody sitting there with a mobile phone. You can just send these people SMSs. It's great. But so how does data science or machine learning help you increase your activation? This is the third thing I'm going to talk about, the first time that this second level comes into play. There is a very, very cool tool out there. I believe I spoke at one of the recent growth hacking meetups called Sentient AI. Essentially what they do is a sort of evolutionary algorithm optimizing your pages. You want to understand that a certain page with a couple of changes behaves in a certain way, and then you have a couple more changes, and that behaves in a certain way and a couple more changes. Use an algorithm to just automate that process and run yourself through 1,000 changes. Obviously, this only works if you have lots and lots and lots and lots of traffic, which is a good problem to have. But use evolutionary algorithms or use machine learning to understand what is actually working on a particular page for a given element. Alternatively, try and understand the different propensities of your different channels and different audiences to click based upon different time boxing or based upon different thematic contents of your ad, and get somebody excruciatingly smart like Luis or Toby, and that will be able to build you an algorithm which tells you, this combination of factors is the combination of factors which causes somebody to convert. This is the cutting edge of the sort of marketing technology that we're talking about, and something which is not currently well supported by any of the actual tools out there. But you can build propensity models, and you can build correlation models around what is and isn't working if you have enough data. So if you have set up your systems properly, you'll be able to do this sort of thing. Third step, retention. Who has a problem after somebody has clicked, getting them to actually stick around, stay back, become a valuable customer? Because this is the number one thing. We all do, you're just not admitting it, all right? I know, yeah. So probably the hardest step in the funnel is getting people to stick around and actually use your product. Again, I'm going to step through it: early, established, and then the future. If you are an early stage startup, there's only two things you can really do to increase your retention rates. The first one is a man called Paul Graham. Please don't do Paul Graham. But what you can do is read his essays, right? Do things that don't scale. Understand that when you're starting out, your time is worth basically nothing, and you just need to get that early traction. So you should be going out there, you should be actually talking to your users face to face, you should be making them feel loved and valued in a way which, of course, you can't do that at enterprise scale. When you've got 10 customers, call them on the phone. Say, hey, looks like you were having some trouble. Let me help you with that. Because that warm and fuzzy feeling is what is going to differentiate you from your competitors, and it's one of the only competitive advantages you have as a small startup. The second thing you can do is a more automated version of that very concept. Intercom, great tool, allows you to talk to people on your website, engaging with your app, understand where they're at in terms of different stages, different behaviors. Just go out there and form a human connection with your users. It's the number one thing that you do to actually increase your retention rates, increase the loyalty that people have to you. There really is no other choice if you have less than a few hundred users. And you have the time. If you don't think you have the time, then you're lying to yourself. However, what do you do if you're at an enterprise level? So at this point, you have thousands of users, right? You can't talk to every single one of them. You can't make them all feel loved and cherished. At this level, What you want to do is be understanding their actual behaviors. You want to build cohorts which tell you things like, well, these people have these sorts of behaviors, and these people have these sorts of behaviors. And we find that when somebody has these sorts of behaviors, they're much more likely to leave our platform and never come back. Churn. You want to be looking at your churn rates. You want to be doing churn prediction. So you want to understand if somebody has a particular experience on your platform, they're more likely to bail out of that platform and never come back. And of course, that's a bad thing because, again, we all want to actually be able to pay our rent. Mixed panel. Mixed panel is like Google Analytics for your actual users' behaviors, where Google Analytics will tell you where people are coming from and what pages they're looking at. Mixed panel will tell you what they're doing on your platform and what their behaviors are on a personal level instead of on simply a page level. This is indispensable when you want to start understanding individual users and the sets of behaviors that they have. The second thing is just MySQL. Don't be afraid to dive into the pointy bits of your actual application and understand what the different sort of flows are and what the characteristics are of different users. But get a deep appreciation for how these people move through the experience that you have. So, thirdly, how does machine learning allow you to do this? What you want to do how does machine learning help you do this? What you want to do, once you're gathering enough information to understand we have groups of users, they exhibit different behaviors, is say, there's a certain set of behaviors or a certain set of characteristics that we see which might predict that somebody churns. If somebody experiences a certain event frequently or is particularly high in a certain characteristic, we know that they're more likely to leave the system. This is a churn prediction model. This is sort of relatively basic statistics and data science. You can actually, once you're measuring this stuff, know, hey, this person's about to churn because we know that everyone who looks like them in the past has churned. Let's give them some love. Let's send them an email. Let's give them a discount. Whatever we can do to help them not churn. It's going to directly affect your bottom line. It is so much easier to keep somebody than it is to convince them, or it is to acquire a new person. I'm sure you've all heard that before. We're about halfway through. Any questions so far? We will do questions at the end, but is anybody thinking, who is this guy? Why is he rambling at us about marketing technology? Okay, good. That's better hit rate than normal. Thanks, guys. There we go. Second to last, the penultimate stage, revenue. At this point, you actually want to get money out of these people, right? There's very little, again, that you can do as an early stage startup. I'm sorry, guys. I know I'm sort of ragging on you, but pretty much your options are to look at the money in the bank. Don't get caught up with your analytics platforms. Don't get caught up with weird promotional pricing algorithms. You're going to screw it up. You don't have enough customers. Just look at how much money is in your bank and make sure that number is going up, and try and see what you did before that number went up. Early stage, where you have hundreds of customers, less than thousands, if you try and get tricky about things like your pricing models, you're not going to achieve the level of statistical rigor and statistical significance that you need, and you're going to shoot yourself in the foot. Just focus on how much money you have in the bank after a particular campaign. If it went up, campaign was good. The second thing that I always tell early stage startups is don't discount yourself. Ask, please sir, can I have some more? Always be asking for more money from your customers, and it's only when you start getting significant pushback that you should stop. The instinct for any businessman is to send out, hey, we'll do a promotion, or we'll do a discount. That'll get people in, that's great. But there's two major problems with that. The first one is, you don't know if your customers would pay more than you think they would. And most people in startups, despite having great resilience and great self-confidence to start a startup, actually undervalue themselves. Right? If they joined your product as an early stage user, they probably like you a lot. Don't ask them for less money, ask them for more money. See if you can take the users who are most valuable to you and push them for more. You might surprise yourself by how much more money you can make off of these people. It's a common instinct to go down, you should actually be going up. The second reason, quite apart from the fact that you're probably undervaluing yourself, is that the worst thing that an early stage startup can do is train its users to wait for promotions. This is something that marketers understand very well and startup hustlers seem to understand very badly. If you keep sending people promotions, they will wait until you send them a promotion to buy. And then that's self-reinforcing, because you'll think, oh, they only buy when I send them promotions, so I guess I have to send them another promotion. Wrong. You will die. It's bad. I've seen it happen a million times before. Now, what do you do if you're at an enterprise level if you have thousands of users and a well-established understanding of what people will pay? At that point, you probably can't get away with drastically changing your pricing model. There's two things you need to do. And neither of these are actually tied to any particular tool. I like Mixpanel. I'm a big Mixpanel fanboy, so these can be implemented with Mixpanel. But the two things you need to do, firstly, are try and elucidate your demand curve. So you can't just start asking for different amounts of money. That will screw things up. But you can nudge up and down slightly the amount. A/B test your pricing structure, right? A/B test how much you're actually charging people in smaller increments. You have enough traffic, it's okay. Just keep moving towards the direction that seems to be making you more money. You can achieve this with something like Optimizely, with something like VWO, and a reasonably competent e-commerce platform. Don't be afraid to apply A/B testing to your actual to your pricing and e-commerce system. Secondarily, use Mixpanel to understand who the most valuable people are, right? What you want to do is determine a lifetime value. I'm sure most of you here have heard about a lifetime value, but understand, of all the people that you have, how much money do they actually make you, overall? How much value do they actually bring to your company? Because the results will shock you. Not to sound too clickbaity. You will actually understand that there are certain channels which may be much more expensive to acquire customers on, but after 6 months have made you 5 times as much revenue because these people get your product or get your value, want to buy as much as they can from you, and hey, it's actually worth doubling down, tripling down on that particular channel. So, how can machine learning or data science help you here? You might think that I'm going to say that there's some secret algorithm that immediately tells you what the demand curve is, but actually no. With revenue, what you want to understand is how to upsell people. What's the next thing you can do which is going to make more money? And there are 2 very important concepts in machine learning which can help you do this. The first one is predictive, and understanding, well, people who have these sorts of characteristics have successfully upsold these sorts of products or have needed in the past these sorts of products. You look historically back at your database and you say, here's a classification of a high value customer, and here's a classification, or here's a bunch of people who fit that classification but are not yet high value customers. Let's prioritize them for our marketing. Let's put more effort into those guys. Let's spend more reaching out to them. Let's maybe give them a bit of a discount. Let's have somebody actually call them up, because we know that these people look like people who have spent a lot with us before. That's the sort of thing that you can do with relatively simple machine learning techniques that you guys could go out and after a Coursera course, and as Toby says, some rooting around on GitHub, be able to apply. The second very cool thing that you do with revenue optimization or with revenue increasing is actually reaching out to these people, right? So are you able to understand what it is that these people are most likely to buy and then just automatically send them an email? Alternatively, can you actually chat with them through a tool like Intercom? If you're at broad enterprise scale, you're not going to be able to talk to every single person who comes in, and if you hire somebody, even in the Philippines, to talk to everybody who's browsing on your site, you're going to eat any profit margin you made from this optimization. Can you build a chatbot that says, ping Intercom, hey, I noticed you're browsing for this. Would you also be interested in that? We know you're going to be interested in that. Every other person who looks like you is interested in that, so high probability you're interested in that. But would you be interested in that? Yes, I would be. Fantastic. Hey, I have some questions about it. What about this? Oh yeah, easy, that. Well-structured, relatively simple conversations are exactly the sort of thing that you can train a chatbot to do, and which take all of this cost off of your staff and your organization. So suddenly, avenues of communication that previously would not have been feasible can be feasible for increasing revenue. If you know you can increase the revenue by 10% on a particular customer base, chucking a chatbot at it means that the cost is going to be a one-time cost of training the thing, and you just make that 10% forever. As opposed to building a call center of Filipinos, which is an ongoing cost base for you forever, which, is sometimes a good idea, but we have chatbots now. So finally, referrals. Referrals are probably the most complicated part of the marketing funnel, and the part which there is least amount of marketing tech that covers. Or rather, there is marketing tech which covers it at a very superficial level. Click here to share, or yeah, spread this on Facebook, or yeah, we'll give you $10 if you like sign up a friend. Those are the worst referral programs in the world, right? Like if you're at Uber's level and you know exactly that your lifetime value is more than whatever the cost to you minus $10 is of a ride, then yes, you should be giving people $10 off their first ride. But none of us are really at that level of being certain what our lifetime value is. So I'm not just going to say that you should incentivize people by giving them $10 off their first purchase. That's baby town frolics level stuff. Let's not do that. If you are an early stage startup, the only thing that I can tell you about being unique is to be a purple cow. Who has read Seth Godin? Seriously, favorite marketer in the world. Okay, a reasonable amount, that's good. Seth Godin is favorite marketer in the world. Talks about this concept called the purple cow, which is you need to be different, right? His family was driving along this French road in the countryside on a vacation, he's an American, and they saw these beautiful black and white cows. And they went, oh my God, that's so incredible, that's so fantastic, right? Like, look at this beautiful cow, I've never seen one like this before. And then, after 20 or 30 minutes, they were like, whatever, it's another cow. When they first saw it, it was incredible. But then after half an hour, whatever, it's just another cow. What would have been incredible at that point is a purple cow. You want to be something that stands out. You want to be something remarkable. Unpack that word for 10 seconds. Remarkable. Something which you would remark upon, right? If I saw a skyscraper out the window, I wouldn't be like, hey guys, this is an important part of my talk. Did you know there's a skyscraper out the window? If I saw a skyscraper on fire, I might be like, oh my God, guys, there's a skyscraper on fire. That would be worth relaying to you. That would be actually interesting.
Especially if you're in it.
Especially if you're in it. Don't take the metaphor too far, but essentially your startup needs to be the skyscraper on fire. Be something that it is worth talking to other people about. You can't hack this, you can't get around this. How can you do this with machine learning? Well, I'm glad you asked. You can provide people with surprisingly good experiences or surprisingly personalized sort of user flows by using the latest technology. I said before, at Gronade, a lot of the time what we do is do something completely novel or completely different, and it works really well because it's novel or different, as well as being rooted in sound marketing, growth hacking principles. But if you can use a technology that other people aren't currently on, like a chatbot that actually works, that will give you an edge over the competitors. Somebody will turn to their friend and be like, hey, look at this is really neat. And that's the secret sauce you need as an early stage startup. As an enterprise level startup, gamification. Gamification is the answer, guys. And it's fairly well understood, but you want to give people a sense of investment in what they're doing with you. And you want to give people a sense of ownership of what they're doing with you. Fundamental word of mouth theory says that people relate things to other people when there is a value in it for them, right? So that value may be monetary, as it often is in our capitalist society. If you refer your friend, you'll get $10. But actually, the vast majority of the time, it's intangible. So I might tell you, any of you, about this great bar I found, because it's genuinely really cool and unknown, and then you'll all think that I'm this cool, hip guy who knows about new bars, right? I get a value out of that, because you think that I'm cool for being able to tell you, so that's why I tell you. And if we think about it, that's pretty much how most, hey, have you heard of this cool thing works? You don't tell somebody about something that you think is not going to improve their lives. You tell somebody about things that you think are genuinely going to improve their lives, which then means that you, in a roundabout way, improve their life. So, how can you hack that process at scale? Investment, gamification. You want to be able to reward people. You want to be able to give people some sort of sense of, cool, I've made this sort of impact. I've referred 10 people, or my friends have done XYZ benefit, or I've been able to build this sort of empire that I'm going to tell everyone about, and it's great. We have this unfortunate bug in the mind of human beings that virtual rewards are considered almost the same as physical rewards. exploit that. Go ahead. It's a marketing talk or a growth hacking talk. We're not going to be able to tell anyone outside of this room anyway. Just exploit it for all it's worth. Again, how can you apply machine learning and data science to this? What you want to understand is sort of optimization of which of these is working the best. And this is not a very simple question in terms of working, right? Because you might have different behaviors that you're looking for. You might want to understand that there are different signals which are going up and down, which are being affected by this in different ways. At that point, you need to be able to measure every different behavior, and you want to be able to tie it back to every different trigger that you have. It takes a lot of work. It's a very interesting type of problem, but when you crack it, it means that you can see a multi-layered example of what happens when you implement a certain trigger. So that's for every stage of pirate metrics, what you should do at an early stage, what you should do at an enterprise stage, what you should do at a data mining and machine learning stage. I think I'm done.
Any questions?
Hello. Sorry, I'm going to be a little bit greedy here, so I'm just going to ask 2 questions. Is that okay?
Sure.
So first one is, what is the best growth method that's currently out there that you can advise any of us?
Yep.
And the second question is, as you know, referral is based on permission-based. I mean, referral is not permission-based, but a lot of mailing system out there, like for example, MailChimp, are permission-based system. So if you use referral, is because you're not asking permission from those friends, and these guys are inviting the others. What are the best mailing system out there that we could use besides MailChimp?
Okay.
So, yeah.
Very,
thanks.
very, very specific question.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
So, in terms of the fact that most mailing systems out there want somebody to opt in before they'll agree to send an email to that person, you're not going to get around that. Every mail provider wants some sort of opt-in or wants to know that you have that person's email address. My answer, yeah, because otherwise you're spamming people. My answer is that referral is so much more than email. In fact, the most powerful referrals are when somebody is actually talking to a friend. And so the thing that you need to understand about that process is that you are conveying information to the person is then remembering that information and conveying it on to the other person with a value. So there's 3 steps you need to understand. How do you encode the value to the person, and how is that person going to convey it on? With an email, it's very easy. You have a specific bit of content which is going out to somebody, and then they read that thing. But do you have like a one-liner which says why it's cool, or do you have a card that can be passed along? Don't get stuck in email, right? Like we get very stuck in digital media in the startup space, but you don't have to be. The number one sort of word of mouth triumph of the last sort of 100 years has been the digital camera, right? Because you had a digital camera, took a photo, the value was that you could see the photo. After taking the photo, you go to the person next to you and be like, hey, check out this photo I just saw. Value, encoded, transferred, the other person got it immediately, and then they wanted a digital camera. So don't get caught up with email. Email's actually, email should never be done unless it's permission-based, because it's a very intimate medium, but we can talk more about it later. In terms of what the best growth hacking technique is, my favorite is calling people on the phone, because they don't expect it, but that's not, you have to be really, really sure that person is worth your time to call them to do it. So it's my personal favorite. There's no one best. It depends upon your specific requirement. Yeah. Unexpected calls are great.
I'm just thinking about social media, just because that's kind of like, I guess, the platform, like we've got messaging, chatbots, blah, blah,
Yep.
but really it's social media where people have likes, and a like is kind of the endorsement of today or whatever, where you see your friends like something or like a brand or whatever. How have you, in your professional experience, used social media just for growth hacking? Even on a personal level, like for leadership branding or branding yourself, or some other thing, like just some other cool thing you've done.
Something that's great about social media is that it's very easy, or it's very, very direct for people to communicate. So if you could have a conversation with every single person in your social network, like that would be good. You would be building those relationships. You would be, improving the perception of that person has of your brand. You'd be potentially, pushing them down the funnel to actually engage with you. And I'm glad you asked that question because it allows me to talk about the direct usage of one of Toby's chatbots, actually, which was a social engagement strategy, the call to action of which hinged upon having somebody actually talk to us, right? We didn't even admit that it was a bot. We didn't even talk about the fact that, of course, you'll get an automated message and it'll all be great. Talk to us. Because the actual transaction that we wanted to get out of that person was very simple, we thought that for most people, we could fake it with a bot so it would feel like you're talking to a real person, which is, again, remarkable. That's really weird. Like, you wouldn't expect that on some Facebook ad, you click the ad, you think, yeah, this is neat, I want to learn more. Hey, I'm talking to a real person. You wouldn't expect that. And you don't, this is marketing. You don't need to get it 100% right 100% of the time, right? Some people will be like, this is a bot, isn't it? How are you doing today? I know you're a bot. Anyway, so what are you up to? Like, I know you're a bot. That just happens. That's okay. That's okay. Because if you're doing better than your competitors, you're doing better than your competitors. You're spending your dollars more wisely. You're getting more reactions than they're getting. So it worked enough so that we actually got a reaction based upon that, and people were able to build a more solid connection, basically, just with a bot, which was trained to a very specific conversation path, which again is not particularly complex. Yep.
So I bumped into some technology that claimed to use machine learning to interrupt the user as they're about to disengage with the website. So it's kind of like a machine learning version of the exit pop-up, right? So I guess my question is around, given your experience, what's a better approach? How late in the disengagement do you intercept the user to get them back into the funnel?
So that's like churn prediction on a page level, right? Like not when is somebody about to churn out of our system entirely or out of our startup, but when is somebody about to churn out of this specific page they're reading now. I mean, full disclaimer, I love exit intent popovers because if somebody has already decided to leave your page, fuck it, you might as well get one more bite of the cherry to be like, no, wait! And it works, it reliably works. You get like a 1 or 2 percentage point bump on your conversion rate, right? So if your conversion rate is abysmal, that might be a 50% bump on your conversion rate just by being like, we'll give you 10% off, like please don't leave us. It works, and it's super easy. That's the other thing, because a conversion or an exit intent popover for somebody who has any web development experience should take about 20 minutes to implement, right? Click, 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 it's done, it's there, you have a bit of creative that goes, please give us your email address. Could you determine off of the page whether or not somebody was about to leave? The two questions that come to my mind is what is that comparing against, right? Like, is it comparing against all of the other traffic on that page? Or is it comparing against some sort of database of traffic elsewhere? Because if it was a system which tried to say, because we're on so many sites, we can predict when somebody's about to leave your page, it's probably not going to work for your specific startup. But if it's something which says, based upon the habits or the interaction patterns of people who have currently used your page, well, I'll say you need a hell of a lot of data to make that reliable. And so I guess the short answer to your question is, if it takes 20 minutes to implement an exit intent popover and that works like good enough, I do that. Yeah. Unless you really are getting like millions of hits per page, in which case, sure, train a bot that pops up at just the right second, or do it manually, understanding where people are having problems on the page. If there's a particular section of the page that people struggle with, maybe it's information dense, maybe it's a little bit confusing, but you can't optimize it for UX reasons. I can't imagine a situation, but maybe. Have a little help thing pop up with a chatbot or a real human being saying, hey, let's chat, like, please don't leave. So there are other ways to solve that particular problem, which might be more sort of UX based, basically. But yes, it's not impossible. Yeah.